Welcome to MindPop English. I am Sam, your host for today. When you listen to English every day, especially conversations that reflect real life, something powerful happens. You begin to understand not just words, but tone, rhythm, and intention. In this lesson, you will hear advanced English used in everyday situations, but explained and guided in a simple way so you can follow along, even if you are not yet at a C1 or C2 level. The goal here is not perfection. The goal is clarity, confidence, and long-term fluency. Before we begin, I want you to take a moment to relax your mind. If you are studying while tired or distracted, learning becomes harder. Take a slow breath and prepare yourself to absorb natural English. Imagine you have just arrived in a new city for a business conference. You are fluent enough to communicate, but you want to sound more natural. You walk into the lobby of a large hotel. The atmosphere feels busy and professional. People are talking on phones, checking in, and greeting colleagues. At the front desk, a polite receptionist smiles at you. This is where our first real-life conversation begins. Listen carefully to the rhythm, not just the words. Hello, welcome to the Grand Meridian Hotel. Do you have a reservation with us today? Yes, I believe so. It should be under the name Daniel Carter. Certainly, let me check that for you. All right, I see your booking here. You are staying with us for 3 nights in a deluxe room. Would you like a digital key sent to your email? Or would you prefer a physical key card? A digital key would be great. Thank you. No problem. Could I please see a photo ID for verification? Of course, here you go. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Everything looks good. Before you head up, would you like information about our conference facilities or breakfast hours? I actually have a conference starting this afternoon. Could you tell me where the Summit Hall is located? Definitely. The Summit Hall is on the 2nd floor, just past the escalators. You will see signs directing you. Perfect. Thank you so much. My pleasure. If you need anything during your stay, please do not hesitate to ask. Now, let's break down what makes this conversation sound natural and advanced. First, notice the language used in professional settings. Phrases like, certainly, let me check that for you, and everything looks good. These sentences do not sound robotic or textbook-like. They sound polite, smooth, and natural. Another example is, could I please see a photo ID for verification? This sentence uses indirect phrasing, which sounds more respectful than saying, give me your ID. When speaking English at an advanced level, tone and politeness matter just as much as grammar. Let's repeat key phrases slowly. Listen and shadow them if possible. Would you like a digital key sent to your email? Or would you prefer a physical key card? Could you tell me where the Summit Hall is located? If you need anything during your stay, please do not hesitate to ask. Each of these phrases can be reused in many situations, not just in hotels. They can be used in offices, events, schools, airports, or any environment where formal but friendly English is required. Now let's rewind and listen to the same conversation again, but this time with slight pauses, so you can repeat. If you are using this video to shadow, speak out loud. Speaking is not passive. When you speak the sentences yourself, you train your brain to produce fluent English automatically. You are not just understanding English, you are becoming someone who can confidently use it in the real world. Hello, welcome to the Grand Meridian Hotel. Do you have a reservation with us today? Pause and repeat. Yes, I believe so. It should be under the name Daniel Carter. Pause and repeat. Certainly, let me check that for you. Pause and repeat. Take your time. The more effort you put in, the faster you will improve. Fluency is a skill built through repetition, not luck. Now, let's explore vocabulary from this scene. Reservation means a booking that has been arranged in advance. Deluxe room means a room with upgraded or premium features, usually more comfortable than a standard room. Verification means confirming that something is accurate or true. Conference facilities means rooms or spaces used for business meetings, events, or presentations. These words are common in professional English, and learning them helps you navigate real-life situations confidently. Next, we will move from checking in to interacting socially with other conference attendees. In many cultures, small talk may seem unnecessary, but in English-speaking countries, it is an essential skill. Small talk creates trust, eases tension, and opens doors to deeper conversations. If you want to succeed in work, travel, or international communication, mastering small talk is not optional. It is a foundation. Imagine you are waiting outside the conference hall. Another attendee stands beside you, holding a cup of coffee. You decide to start a conversation. Listen closely to how natural and relaxed this dialogue is. Hi there. Are you also attending the Summit Conference this afternoon? Yes, I am. It is my first time here actually. Same here. I have heard great things about the speakers. Which session are you planning to attend first? I am interested in the keynote on international business communication. What about you? I will probably start with the workshop on digital marketing strategies. Sounds useful. Maybe we can compare notes afterward. This conversation feels casual, polite, and friendly. Notice how it begins with a soft opener, like "Hi there." Then there are sentences that show interest rather than just exchanging information. In advanced English, it is not only what you say, but how engaging and interactive you sound. The phrase, "Maybe we can compare notes afterward," creates connection and possibility. It turns an ordinary interaction into a potential professional relationship. Before we move to the next part, repeat after me slowly. I have heard great things about the speakers. Which session are you planning to attend first? Maybe we can compare notes afterward. Practice these lines until they feel natural. In the next section, we will transition into deeper conversations with cultural awareness, emotional intelligence, and persuasive language. Stay focused and keep listening. As you enter the conference hall, the room fills with a quiet energy. People settle into chairs, open laptops, and prepare to take notes. The speaker steps onto the stage, adjusts the microphone, and begins. This section will focus on understanding longer, structured speech, especially presentations and keynote talks. These types of speeches often contain formal language, complex sentence structures, and advanced vocabulary. Listen closely to the tone, pacing, and clarity. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rebecca Hayes, and I will be speaking about the impact of communication strategies in international business. Over the last decade, we have witnessed a significant shift in how companies operate across borders. Digital platforms have allowed businesses to collaborate instantly, regardless of geography. However, with this new level of connectivity comes a challenge. How do we ensure that communication remains clear, respectful, and culturally appropriate. Let's pause for a moment. Notice how the speaker begins. She introduces herself, states the topic, and provides a context. This is typical of professional presentations. Now listen again, but this time pay attention to transition phrases like over the last decade and however with this new level of connectivity. These phrases guide the listener and create logical flow. Let's continue with the speech. To address this challenge, we must first understand that effective communication is not just about language proficiency. It is also about cultural awareness, emotional intelligence, and adaptability. Language allows us to exchange information, but culture determines how that information is interpreted. For example, direct communication may be appreciated in the United States or Germany, while indirect communication may be more appropriate in Japan or Thailand. If we fail to recognize these differences, misunderstandings can occur even when everyone speaks fluent English. These sentences contain advanced ideas, but notice how the structure remains clear. Effective communication is defined, explained, supported with examples, and contrasted between cultures. This is an excellent model for your own speaking. Now repeat key sentences after me. Language allows us to exchange information, but culture determines how that information is interpreted. Direct communication may be appreciated in the United States or Germany. Indirect communication may be more appropriate in Japan or Thailand. Pronounce each sentence slowly and clearly. Focus not only on words, but on rhythm. Advanced English is musical. It flows. Now, imagine yourself taking notes during a presentation like this. Good note-taking is not about writing every word. It is about identifying key ideas. Here is a simple outline based on what you just heard. Main topic: communication strategies in international business. Key problem: increased connectivity creates new communication challenges. Major idea: effective communication requires cultural awareness. Examples: direct versus indirect communication differences. If you can summarize a long speech into short, meaningful points, you are using English at a high level. Let's continue with more of the presentation. Another important aspect of international communication is tone. Tone reflects attitude, intention, and emotion. A message may be grammatically correct, but if the tone sounds impatient or dismissive, it may damage professional relationships. In multilingual environments, subtle differences in tone can lead to misinterpretation. That is why it is essential for professionals to choose words carefully and speak with awareness. Now let's turn this into dialogue so you can practice responding in real life. Imagine that after the presentation, you approach the speaker to ask a question. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for the talk. I really enjoyed the examples you gave about cultural communication differences. I wanted to ask, what would you recommend for someone who works with teams in several countries and struggles to maintain consistent communication? Thank you for asking. One approach is to establish communication guidelines that everyone agrees to follow. For example, you could set expectations for response times, preferred communication channels, and meeting formats. Another helpful strategy is to schedule regular check-ins to make sure everyone feels aligned and informed. Transparency prevents confusion. That makes sense. I think establishing guidelines would help my team a lot. I am glad to hear that. Remember, communication is a continuous process. It improves when people are proactive and open to feedback. Notice how the question uses "I wanted to ask," and "I really enjoyed your talk." These are polite ways to begin a conversation with a professional speaker. Also notice how the speaker answers in a structured and practical way. Let's break down important phrases. One approach is to establish communication guidelines. Another helpful strategy is to schedule regular check-ins. Communication is a continuous process. Repeat each line and try to internalize it so you can use it naturally later. If you do not practice out loud, these sentences remain passive knowledge instead of active fluency. Now imagine that the conversation continues in a more casual tone. By the way, is this your first time presenting at this conference? Not at all. I've been speaking here for the past 5 years. It is always a great experience because the audience is so engaged. That is impressive. What motivates you to keep presenting? I enjoy helping people communicate more effectively. When people understand each other better, collaboration becomes more meaningful and results improve. This conversation demonstrates how to shift from formal to personal topics while maintaining professionalism. It also models curiosity, confidence, and positivity, which are key elements of advanced English communication. Before we transition to the next part, let's review the core skills practiced here. Listening to structured speeches, recognizing transition phrases, using polite and professional language, summarizing key ideas, asking thoughtful questions, and shifting tone appropriately. In the next section, we will move from professional communication to real-life conversations in social settings, where language becomes more relaxed and expressive. Keep listening, stay focused, and let English begin to feel natural. After the conference session ends, people slowly leave the hall, chatting with colleagues and exchanging business cards. You step outside into a lounge area where refreshments are being served. The atmosphere is more relaxed now. People laugh, share stories, and talk about their experiences. This section will focus on natural social conversations in English, where language becomes more expressive, personal, and less structured. Social English still requires advanced vocabulary, but the tone is easier, warmer, and more spontaneous. You walk toward a small group, standing near a table. One of them smiles and invites you into the conversation. Listen closely to how the interaction unfolds. "Hey, how did you like the presentation? I thought it was really insightful, especially the part about cultural differences." "Same here. I never realized how much tone affects communication. I always focused more on vocabulary." Yeah, vocabulary matters. But the way you say something can completely change how it is received. "By the way, my name is Laura. Nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you too. I am Daniel. Is this your first time attending this conference?" "Actually, yes. I have been meaning to join for years, but my schedule never worked out. What about you?" "This is my 3rd time. I keep coming back because the networking opportunities are amazing, and the speakers are always top-notch." Notice how this conversation starts. It begins with a shared experience, moves to personal introductions, and then transitions into light conversation. This is a common pattern in social English and helps build rapport naturally. Pay attention to phrases like "I never realized" and "I have been meaning to." These express reflection and past intention, which sound more natural than simple past statements. Let's repeat some of these phrases slowly. I thought it was really insightful. I never realized how much tone affects communication. I have been meaning to join for years. The networking opportunities are amazing. Say them out loud. When you speak, you train your tongue, not just your brain. Now the conversation continues with deeper topics. So what do you do, Daniel? I work in international marketing. Most of my projects involve cross-border campaigns. That sounds exciting. Do you travel often? I used to travel a lot, but lately most projects are remote. Honestly, I miss meeting people face to face. I understand. Remote work is convenient, but it can feel isolating. Exactly. That is why events like this are refreshing. You get real conversations, not just screens and emails. These sentences use advanced structures without sounding complicated. For example, I used to travel a lot, shows a past habit, while, honestly, I miss meeting people adds emotion and personal tone. Advanced English is not only about difficult words, it is about expressing feelings clearly. Let's break down more useful phrases. Most of my projects involve cross-border campaigns. Remote work is convenient, but it can feel isolating. You get real conversations, not just screens and emails. These expressions are versatile. You can apply them in business, social situations, or everyday conversations. Now imagine that Laura introduces you to another person standing nearby. Daniel, this is Michael. He works in corporate training and leadership development. Nice to meet you, Michael. Nice to meet you too. Laura mentioned you work in international marketing. Yes, that is right. A lot of our recent campaigns focus on Asia and Europe. That is interesting. My work actually overlaps with that. I train leaders to communicate more effectively across cultures. That sounds very relevant to the presentation today. Definitely. In fact, a big part of my job is helping leaders adjust their communication style based on the audience. That is such an important skill. I feel like many talented people struggle simply because they are misunderstood. Exactly. Sometimes the issue is not ability, but perception. This dialogue shows how social conversations can naturally shift toward professional topics without sounding formal or forced. Notice the balance between information and empathy. Phrases like, "That sounds very relevant," and "I feel like many talented people struggle" show active engagement. Now practice repeating key lines. Sometimes the issue is not ability, but perception. A big part of my job is helping leaders adjust their communication style. My work actually overlaps with that. Say them slowly and clearly. Visualize yourself speaking to real people. Now Daniel, Laura, and Michael move to a quieter corner to continue the conversation. Do you ever find it difficult to communicate with teams from different countries? Definitely. Time zones, cultural expectations, even different senses of humor can create friction. Humor, yes. People underestimate how tricky humor can be across cultures. What is considered funny in one place might be confusing somewhere else. True, and sometimes humor can even sound rude if people misunderstand the context. Right. I usually avoid jokes when I am not sure how they will be received. That is a smart approach. This part introduces subtle communication issues that advanced learners often struggle with. Humor, sarcasm, implied meaning, and tone are complex areas of language. Understanding them takes time and exposure. Let's break down key insights. Humor is culturally specific. Misunderstandings can damage relationships, When in doubt, keep communication neutral. These are not just language skills, they are social strategies. Now we transition to a slightly more personal tone. By the way, where are you from? Originally, I grew up in Toronto, but I live in Singapore now. That is a big change. What made you move? I wanted to experience a different culture, and there were more opportunities in my field. Do you think you will stay long term? Hard to say. I love the lifestyle, but I am still exploring my options. This shift from professional to personal topics is common in natural English conversations. Notice how the tone becomes softer, more emotional, and reflective. Repeat key phrases. I wanted to experience a different culture. I am still exploring my options. That is a big change. Before we move on, reflect for a moment. Advanced English is not just about speaking well. It is about connecting with people, building trust, and expressing who you are. Language becomes a bridge, not just a tool. In the next section, we will move into more emotional, expressive conversations in settings outside work, such as cafes, travel situations, and deeper personal dialogues. Keep listening, keep repeating, and let English become part of your identity. Later that evening, after a long day of presentations and conversations, you decide to step outside the conference venue to get some fresh air. The city lights glow softly, and the streets are filled with people heading to restaurants and cafes. You walk down the street and find a small cafe with large windows and warm lighting. You go inside, order a cup of coffee, and sit by the window. This section will focus on emotional, reflective, and personal conversations that happen in casual settings. These conversations are more relaxed than business discussions, but they still use advanced English in a natural way. A few minutes later, you notice Laura entering the same cafe. She sees you, smiles, and walks over. Hey, fancy seeing you here. Mind if I join you? Not at all. Please have a seat. Thanks, I needed a break. Conferences can be overwhelming, even when they are inspiring. I feel the same. It is a lot of information to process in one day. Exactly. Sometimes I need a quiet moment just to let everything sink in. This conversation begins with natural phrases like fancy seeing you here and let everything sink in. These are casual expressions that make speech sound native and effortless. They reflect emotion rather than just facts. Let's repeat some useful lines. Conferences can be overwhelming. I need a quiet moment to let everything sink in. Mind if I join you? These sentences are short, but they communicate feeling, which is essential in natural conversation. Now the conversation continues. So, what did you think of the keynote speaker? I thought she was brilliant. The part about balancing clarity and empathy really stood out to me. Yes, that was powerful. I sometimes forget that communication is not just about being understood, but also about making others feel respected. Exactly. People remember how you make them feel, even more than the words you use. This part highlights emotional intelligence. Notice the phrase that really stood out to me. This expression is useful when sharing opinions in a thoughtful way. Next, the conversation shifts to personal goals. Do you ever feel like you want to improve your communication skills, not just for work, but for your life in general? Definitely. I want to express myself more clearly when I talk to friends and family. Sometimes I struggle to explain how I feel. I understand. Even native speakers have that problem. Emotional communication is its own language. That is true. I guess learning English helps me discover myself in new ways. I love that. Learning a language can shape how you think, not just how you speak. This part demonstrates how language learning can lead to self-reflection. The sentences are simple but meaningful. Repeat short phrases. People remember how you make them feel. Emotional communication is its own language. Learning a language can shape how you think. Now imagine the barista brings your drinks, and the conversation becomes deeper. By the way, what motivated you to start working in international marketing? Interesting question. I grew up in a multicultural environment, and I always loved connecting different perspectives. Working internationally feels natural to me. That makes sense. I think when you grow up around different cultures, you learn to adapt quickly. Exactly. And you learn that there is no single way to communicate. Every style has value. This conversation blends personal background with cultural observations. Notice phrases like, "There is no single way to communicate." These sentences express nuanced ideas simply, which is the essence of advanced English. Now Laura shares something personal. To be honest, I used to be really shy. Speaking in public terrified me, but when I moved abroad, I had no choice but to speak up. Interesting. So moving changed you? Completely. It forced me to grow. I learned that confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build through action. That is a powerful lesson. Here, expressions like, "To be honest, I had no choice, and it forced me to grow" show vulnerability. These phrases help conversations feel real and authentic. Repeat after me slowly. Confidence is something you build through action. Speaking in public terrified me. I learned that confidence is not something you wait for. Speaking these lines out loud with emotion helps internalize a natural tone. Now the conversation shifts again, this time toward future goals. So what is next for you, Daniel? Any big plans? I want to start my own consulting business someday. I am not ready yet, but I am working toward it. That is exciting. What kind of consulting? Communication strategy for global brands. I want to help companies connect with audiences authentically. You would be great at that. You clearly understand communication on a deep level. Thank you. That means a lot. I still have a long way to go. We all do. Growth never ends. This part shows balance between dreams, humility, and encouragement. Advanced communication often includes expressing uncertainty honestly. I am not ready yet, and I still have a long way to go. Now repeat key phrases. You would be great at that. Growth never ends. I want to help companies connect with audiences authentically. Soon the conversation winds down as the cafe becomes quieter. It is getting late. I should probably head back to the hotel. Yeah, me too. Today was long, but meaningful. Agreed. I am glad we talked. Me too. See you tomorrow at the morning session. Absolutely. Have a good night. Good night. This farewell dialogue is natural and warm. Notice how short sentences convey connection without being dramatic. Natural English does not always need long, complex lines. Before we transition to the next part, reflect on what you learned here. How to express emotions clearly. How to sound natural in casual settings. How to shift from light conversation to deeper topics. How to share personal experiences confidently. In the next section, we will move beyond conference settings into travel situations such as airports, public transport, and hotel interactions, where you will need clarity, quick responses, and situational awareness. Keep listening, stay alert, and continue speaking out loud as much as possible. The next morning, you wake up early to explore the city before the conference resumes. The air is crisp, and the streets are just beginning to fill with commuters. You decide to take the subway to a popular cultural district. This section will focus on travel-related conversations that require clarity, quick thinking, and situational awareness. These interactions are short, practical, and often unpredictable, which makes them excellent listening practice for real-life English. You walk into the subway station and approach a ticket machine, but you are not familiar with the payment system. A woman nearby notices and offers help. "Hey, are you trying to buy a ticket?" "Yeah, I am not sure which pass to get." "No worries. Are you planning to travel around all day or just heading somewhere specific?" "Probably around all day." "In that case, you should get a day pass. It is more cost-effective." "Thanks, I appreciate the help." "No problem." The machine can be a little confusing for first-time visitors. This exchange shows polite assistance and gratitude. Notice simple but natural lines, like "no worries" and "I appreciate the help." These expressions are extremely common in spoken English. Let's repeat them. Are you planning to travel around all day? In that case, you should get a day pass. I appreciate the help. Now you board the train. It is not crowded, but there are several commuters reading, typing, and listening to music. As you sit down, a passenger beside you looks up and starts a conversation. "I heard the conference is happening nearby. Are you attending it?" "Yes, I am. It has been really interesting so far. I wanted to attend, but the tickets sold out before I registered." That happens a lot. It is becoming more popular each year. Who is speaking this time? A mix of international business leaders, communication experts, and authors. Sounds like something I would enjoy. Definitely. You should try again next year. This conversation is casual, but not personal. It is friendly small talk, commonly used between strangers. Notice how the tone stays light and informative. Repeat key lines. "It has been really interesting so far. It is becoming more popular each year. Sounds like something I would enjoy." These are safe, natural responses you can use in similar situations. When the train reaches your stop, you step off and follow signs to a historical district filled with small shops. Inside one shop, you look at handcrafted items, and the shop owner approaches you. "Good morning. Let me know if you have any questions." "Thanks. Everything looks beautiful. Are these handmade locally?" "Yes. Most of them are made by independent artists who live in the area." "That is amazing. I like supporting local work when I travel." "We appreciate that. It helps keep the community strong." "Do you have any items that represent traditional culture?" "Absolutely. Let me show you a few pieces." This conversation uses polite curiosity and appreciation. Phrases like, "I like supporting local work," and "we appreciate that" show mutual respect and meaningful connection. Now repeat key phrases slowly. "Are these handmade locally?" "I like supporting local work when I travel. It helps keep the community strong." Next, the shop owner explains an item in more detail. This is important listening practice because explanations often contain descriptive, advanced language. This piece is inspired by traditional motifs that date back over 100 years. The patterns symbolize unity, protection, and good fortune. Each item takes about 2 weeks to complete, so every piece is unique. That is incredible craftsmanship. Yes, people often buy them as gifts or souvenirs. Conversations like this help you understand storytelling and cultural explanation in English. Repeat. Each item takes about 2 weeks to complete. Every piece is unique. That is incredible craftsmanship. After buying a small item, you step outside and walk to a street food stall for a quick lunch. The vendor greets you warmly. What can I get for you? I am not sure what to try. Do you have any recommendations? If it is your first time here, I suggest the grilled rice wraps. They are popular and not too spicy. Sounds perfect. I will take one, please. Coming right up. Do you want anything to drink? Just water, thanks. This interaction is short, practical, and polite. These are essential travel phrases. Repeat. Do you have any recommendations? Sounds perfect. Coming right up. Now imagine the vendor recognizes your interest in culture and continues talking. Is this your first time visiting the city? Yes, it is. I am here for a conference, but I am trying to explore a bit. That is great. Many visitors miss the local areas and only see the tourist spots. I prefer discovering places that residents enjoy. That is the best way to understand a city. This dialogue shifts from transactional English to personal connection. Notice phrases like, I prefer discovering places that residents enjoy. These sound natural and well phrased. After lunch, you sit on a bench and reflect on your experiences. Travel conversations teach you to communicate quickly, politely, and clearly. Often, you do not have time to structure perfect sentences. You need to respond instantly, even if your grammar is not perfect. Confidence matters more than perfection. Repeat key reflections. Travel English needs clarity. Confidence matters more than perfection. Respond even if you are unsure. As the afternoon ends, you check the time and realize the next conference session will start soon. You head back to the subway station, and at the platform, a tourist approaches you for help. Excuse me, do you know which train goes to the city center? Yes, take the green line. It should arrive in about 3 minutes. Thank you. I am always nervous about getting on the wrong train. I understand. The signs can be confusing. If you are unsure, just ask someone. People are usually happy to help. That is reassuring. Thanks again. In this exchange, you are now the person helping someone else. This shows progress. When you can explain directions clearly, you demonstrate control over language and context. Repeat. Take the green line. The signs can be confusing. People are usually happy to help. Before we transition to the next part, reflect on what this section covered. Clarity in short, fast conversations. Asking for help and offering help. Polite suggestions and recommendations. Cultural curiosity and appreciation. Confidence when speaking with strangers. In the next section, we will move into longer, emotionally layered conversations that take place during travel relationships, such as meeting someone on a long-distance train or airport layover, where conversations can become unexpectedly personal and meaningful. Keep speaking out loud. Keep listening closely, and let English flow naturally. Now that you have practiced expressing opinions and sharing personal reactions, let's move into a deeper type of communication, discussing complex topics with clarity. At the advanced level, it's not just about knowing difficult vocabulary. It is about explaining ideas in a calm, structured, confident way. Just like native speakers in academic or professional settings. In this section, you will hear a conversation about modern work culture, especially the shift from traditional office work to remote work. While listening, focus on how speakers express contrasting viewpoints, ask thoughtful questions, and build ideas using clear transitions. Listen carefully to the conversation first. After that, I will break down the vocabulary, expressions, and pronunciation patterns. Conversation begins. Speaker A: I've noticed that ever since people started working from home, productivity has increased, but motivation has decreased. It feels like people get more done, yet they feel less connected to their work. Speaker B: I completely agree. Working remotely gives people more flexibility, but it also creates isolation. There's no real sense of teamwork when everyone is behind a screen. Speaker A: True, but remote work also eliminates commuting, which saves time and reduces stress. For many people, that improves their overall well-being. Speaker B: That's a fair point. However, I still believe that humans need social interaction to stay mentally healthy. Without regular contact, the job becomes purely transactional. It stops being meaningful. Speaker A: Maybe the real issue isn't remote work itself, but how companies manage it. If organizations invested more in virtual community building, people might feel more connected. Speaker B: Possibly. Or perhaps a hybrid model is the best solution. A few days in the office, a few days at home. That balance could give us both productivity and connection. Conversation ends. Let's analyze the conversation step by step. Notice how both speakers present opinions without sounding aggressive or emotional. They use structured language such as, I completely agree, that's a fair point, true, but, possibly, however, maybe the real issue. I still believe that. These phrases allow you to participate in debates without creating conflict. They show professionalism and emotional maturity in communication. Now repeat key phrases after me slowly. Listen first, then repeat aloud. I've noticed that productivity has increased, but motivation has decreased. There's no real sense of teamwork when everyone is behind a screen. Remote work eliminates commuting and reduces stress. Humans need social interaction to stay mentally healthy. Maybe the real issue isn't remote work itself. A hybrid model might be the best solution. Next, I want you to practice summarizing the conversation in your own words. This skill is essential for advanced speaking exams, job interviews, and real-life discussions. Here is your task. Summarize the conversation in 3 sentences, focusing on the contrast between productivity and emotional connection. Do not repeat sentences word for word. Use your own structure. Pause the video and speak your summary out loud now. When you are ready again, let's continue. Now let's practice expressing your personal opinion with clarity. Answer this question. Do you prefer working remotely, working in an office, or a hybrid model? Explain why, and use at least 2 contrasting points. For example, compare flexibility with motivation, or efficiency with social connection. Again, speak out loud. The goal is to train confidence, not just understanding. Now I will give you sample answers. Listen and repeat. Sample answer 1. I prefer remote work because it gives me more freedom and helps me manage my time better. However, I admit that it can feel lonely, so I try to schedule regular social activities outside of work. Sample answer 2. I like working in an office because I need a structured environment to stay focused. But commuting takes a lot of time, so I wish companies allowed more flexible schedules. Sample answer 3. A hybrid model is ideal for me. I enjoy the productivity of working from home, but I also need face-to-face interaction to feel like part of a team. Practice answering again, but this time try to expand your argument and use examples from your own life or experiences. Now let's transition to a new topic in the next section. How to express strong yet professional disagreement, especially in formal conversations or workplace discussions. You will learn phrases that allow you to disagree politely without sounding rude, emotional, or confrontational. In the previous section, we talked about presenting balanced opinions and exploring complex topics calmly. Now we are going to focus on a powerful communication skill, disagreeing professionally. At an advanced level, how you disagree is just as important as what you say. Strong disagreement should still sound respectful, thoughtful, and logical. Many English learners make the mistake of using direct phrases like "I disagree" or "you are wrong." These expressions can sound confrontational, especially in academic or workplace environments. Instead, native speakers tend to soften disagreement while still expressing a strong point. They use phrases that create space for discussion rather than conflict. Let's listen to a natural conversation between two speakers discussing whether artificial intelligence will replace most jobs in the future. Pay attention to how they disagree politely and constructively. Conversation begins. Speaker A: I think artificial intelligence will eventually replace most human jobs. It's becoming more efficient, more accurate, and more affordable than hiring people. Honestly, I believe machines will outperform humans in almost every industry. Speaker B: I see where you're coming from, but I'm not convinced it will go that far. Technology can automate tasks, but it cannot replace creativity, emotional intelligence, or ethical decision-making. Humans offer skills that machines can't replicate. Speaker A: That may be true, but companies care about profits. If AI can do the job faster and cheaper, businesses will choose machines over people. Speaker B: I understand your point, but I would argue that AI will transform jobs rather than replace them entirely. It will change how we work, not eliminate the need for humans. Speaker A: I suppose that's possible. Perhaps the future will be a collaboration rather than a replacement. Conversation ends. Now let's break down key language techniques used in this dialogue. Notice how Speaker B disagrees without rejecting the other person's opinion directly. They first acknowledge the other viewpoint using phrases like, I see where you're coming from. I understand your point. That may be true. I'm not convinced. I would argue that. These phrases soften disagreement while still expressing a clear position. They show respect and keep the conversation open. Now repeat these phrases out loud slowly. I see where you're coming from. I understand your point. That may be true. I'm not convinced. I would argue that. Next, let's analyze how they introduce contrasting arguments. Instead of saying you're wrong, the speaker reframes the conversation. Technology can automate tasks, but it cannot replace emotional intelligence. AI will transform jobs rather than replace them. It will change how we work, not eliminate humans. These structures help you disagree at a high level using logic rather than emotion. Now let's practice speaking. I will ask you a question. Answer using one of the disagreement phrases you learned. Do you agree that AI will eventually replace most jobs? Pause the video and give your answer aloud. Now listen to sample responses for pronunciation and structure. Sample Answer 1. I understand why some people feel that AI will replace most jobs, but I'm not convinced that it can fully replace human creativity and emotional understanding. Sample Answer 2. I see where you're coming from, but I would argue that AI will create more new jobs than it eliminates, just like previous technological revolutions. Sample Answer 3. That may be true in industries like manufacturing, but in fields like education, healthcare, and art, humans still play an essential role. Now, let's expand the exercise. You will practice disagreeing politely. In a more personal context, imagine a friend says, "Learning English is pointless because translation tools are already good enough." Think about how you would respond. Use one of the phrases we practiced. For example, "I see why you think that, but learning English gives you cultural understanding that machines can't provide." Or, "I understand your point, but mastering English allows you to communicate with people directly, not through technology." Now repeat aloud after me. I see why you think that, but I believe learning English opens opportunities that technology alone can't offer. Next, I want you to construct your own response using your personal experience. Speak for at least 10 seconds without stopping. This extended speaking helps build real fluency. When you are ready, we will continue to the next part, where you will learn how to handle disagreements in professional meetings, respond to criticism confidently, and negotiate solutions using persuasive language. In the previous section, you learned how to disagree politely in everyday conversations. Now, we will move into a more formal setting. Professional meetings, workplace discussions, and collaborative decision-making. At a C1 to C2 level, you need to do more than simply express opinions. You must support your ideas with logic, respond to opposing viewpoints, and guide conversations toward solutions. In professional environments, disagreement is not about winning an argument. It is about creating progress, improving ideas, and reaching better outcomes. That requires diplomacy, clarity, and confidence. Let's begin with a real-life scenario. Imagine you are working on a team project, and a colleague proposes a plan you believe is ineffective. You want to disagree, but you must do so professionally and constructively. First, listen to a natural workplace conversation. Conversation begins. Speaker A: I think we should present the final report next week. The earlier we submit it, the faster we can move on to other projects. Speaker B: I appreciate your motivation to finish early, but I'm concerned that rushing might affect the quality. We still need time to analyze the data accurately and refine our conclusions. Speaker A: I see what you mean, but if we spend too much time on details, the project might lose momentum. The client expects quick results. Speaker B: That's a valid point. However, instead of rushing the entire report, what if we deliver an initial summary next week and then submit the full version the following week? That way we meet the deadline and maintain accuracy. Speaker A: That sounds reasonable. Let's go with that plan. Conversation ends. Let's analyze what happened step by step. Speaker B did not reject the idea directly. Instead, they acknowledged the other person's intention, explained a concern, and then proposed a compromise. This communication style is persuasive because it respects both logic and collaboration. Here are the key phrases used. I appreciate your motivation. I'm concerned that. That's a valid point. That sounds reasonable. Now repeat these phrases slowly. I appreciate your motivation. I'm concerned that rushing might affect the quality. That's a valid point. What if we deliver an initial summary next week? Let's go with that plan. Next, let's break down the structure of professional disagreement. Step 1. Acknowledge the other viewpoint. Step 2. Present a concern with reasoning. Step 3. Offer an alternative solution. Step 4. End with a collaborative tone. Here is how you can apply this structure. Example: acknowledge, I understand why you think we should finish early. Concern, I'm worried that we may overlook important details. Alternative, what if we finalize the summary now and complete the full report later? Collaboration, that way, we stay on schedule and maintain quality. Now repeat the full response aloud. I understand why you think we should finish early, but I'm worried that we may overlook important details. What if we finalize the summary now and complete the full report later? That way, we stay on schedule and maintain quality. Next, let's practice responding to direct criticism. Imagine your manager says, your presentation was unclear and needs improvement. A weak response would be, I disagree. I think it was fine. A strong professional response sounds like this. Thanks for the feedback. Could you tell me which parts were unclear so I can improve them before the final version? This response shows maturity, confidence, and responsibility. It transforms criticism into collaboration instead of conflict. Repeat after me. Thanks for the feedback. Which parts should I clarify? I appreciate your input. I will revise the presentation to make it more concise. I understand your concerns. Let me refine the structure and share an updated version. Now let's do a speaking exercise. You will respond to the following criticism. Your ideas are good, but the report lacks structure and is difficult to follow. Pause the video and say your response aloud using the techniques we practiced. Now listen to sample answers. Sample answer 1. Thanks for pointing that out. I'll reorganize the report so the ideas flow more logically. Sample answer 2. I understand. I'll add headings, transitions, and clearer sections to make it easier to read. Sample answer 3. I appreciate your feedback. I'll revise the layout and send you an updated version soon. Now let's transition to negotiation skills. Disagreement is not always about defending your idea. Sometimes you need to persuade others to accept your proposal, especially when resources, time, or priorities are limited. In the next section, we will learn how to negotiate effectively using advanced language structures, including conditional arguments, strategic concessions, and persuasive reasoning. In the previous section, we practiced responding to criticism and disagreeing professionally in workplace conversations. Now, we will move into a more advanced communication skill, negotiation. Negotiation is not just about getting what you want. It is about finding solutions that benefit everyone, while presenting your ideas persuasively and confidently. This skill is essential in business, academic discussions, and even daily life. At the C1 to C2 level, effective negotiation requires 3 core abilities. First, clearly stating your position with confidence. Second, offering logical reasons that support your idea. Third, adapting your argument depending on how others respond. Let's begin with a realistic scenario. Imagine you are working on a project and you want extra time to complete your part of the work. The deadline is strict and your team expects results soon. Listen to this natural negotiation. Conversation begins. Speaker A. We need to submit the project this Friday. Can you deliver your section by Wednesday so we have time to review it? Speaker B. I understand the deadline is tight, but I need a bit more time to refine the data analysis. If I rush, the conclusions may not be accurate. Speaker A. I get that, but the client is counting on us. We don't have room for delays. Speaker B. I see your concern. How about this? I'll deliver a preliminary version by Wednesday, so you can review the structure, and I'll finalize the complete version by Friday morning. That way we stay on schedule and maintain quality. Speaker A. That works for me. Thanks for finding a middle ground. Conversation ends. Now let's analyze how Speaker B negotiated effectively. First, they acknowledged the original request, showing cooperation. Second, they explained the reason behind their limitation. Third, they suggested a practical compromise. This structure is persuasive because it respects both the goal and the constraints. Now repeat the key phrases. I understand the deadline is tight, but I need more time to refine the data. I see your concern. How about this? I'll submit a preliminary version first, then finalize the complete version. Next, let's look at common negotiation language used by native speakers. Phrases to present a proposal. What if I suggest that one possible solution is, how about we try this approach? Phrases to acknowledge the other side. I see why that's important. I understand your priorities. You're right about that. That's a valid point. Phrases to persuade logically. If we do this, we can. This allows us to. This ensures that this helps us avoid. Now repeat after me slowly. I see why that's important, but I suggest we take one extra day to verify the results. If we finalize it too quickly, we may overlook critical details. What if we deliver a draft first and refine it later? Next, let's practice a different scenario. Imagine a manager asks you to lead a new project, but you already have several responsibilities and limited time. Pause the video and respond using negotiation language. Now listen to sample responses. Sample answer 1. I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm currently handling multiple projects. If you can reassign one of my tasks, I'll have the capacity to lead this new project effectively. Sample answer 2. I'd be happy to help, but I'll need additional support from another team member. That way, we can manage the workload without sacrificing quality. Sample answer 3. I understand this project is a priority. So could we extend the timeline of my current tasks to make space for it? Notice how each answer offers a solution, not just a refusal. Now let's practice a more challenging negotiation topic, salary discussion or compensation. Many English learners feel uncomfortable discussing money, especially in English. Negotiating confidently is not rude or selfish, it is professional. Here is a natural example. Conversation begins. Manager, we'd like to offer you this position at our company. The starting salary is $50,000 per year. Candidate, thank you. I'm excited about the role and the company culture. Based on my experience and the responsibilities listed, I was expecting something closer to $60,000. Is there flexibility in the starting offer? Manager, I can't promise that amount, but I can talk to the team and see if we can increase it. Candidate, I appreciate that. Also, if the salary cannot be adjusted, I'd like to discuss alternative benefits, such as remote work options or educational support. Conversation ends. This negotiation includes several advanced strategies: expressing confidence, presenting justification, asking questions professionally, and suggesting alternatives. Repeat the key lines. Based on my experience, I was expecting a higher offer. Is there flexibility in the starting offer? If the salary cannot be adjusted, I'd like to discuss alternative benefits. Now let's move into pronunciation practice. Pay attention to tone. In negotiations, your voice should sound calm and steady. Avoid sounding emotional, aggressive, or passive. Repeat after me with controlled, confident tone. I understand your position, but I'd like to propose an alternative. Let's find a solution that works for both of us. I appreciate your flexibility. Now I want you to practice independently. Choose one situation from your real life, such as negotiating a deadline, salary, schedule, or resources. Speak for 30 seconds and apply the techniques learned in this section. Pause the video and practice now. In the next part, we will move into the final section of this lesson. You will review key concepts from the entire 2-hour session, practice long-form speaking responses, and apply everything in a real-life conversation simulation.